All right, we're live. We're live, and this is the Embracing Joy podcast. We're live. I'm Dr. Majette, and I have a special guest. Let's slow down the music. I have a special guest with me today, Dr. Mary Leung. Let me tell you a little bit about my guest. Dr. Mary Leung is a physician who's board certified in internal medicine and hematology and oncology. So she's a cancer specialist. She's also a certified life coach who's passionate about serving physicians who are stressed, overwhelmed, and burned out. So, but prior to her life coaching business, Dr. Mary was working on charting after hours many nights and weekends until life coaching transformed her life. Now she's going home at least 2.5 hours earlier than before, with all of her clinical work done and completed for the day. How do you go from 2.5 hours? That's amazing. Really, for a lot of doctors, that is amazing. You get 2.5 hours of your life back every day. So from the depths of her own experience, Gratitude MD, her passion and mission to guide other physicians through their unique situations has allowed them to feel better and have more time outside of their clinical work to regain control and have more clarity. Her hope is to have physicians rediscover joy in their life in medicine. Dr. Mary Leung believes that if physicians can enjoy practicing medicine again, they can take better care of patients. Through this renewal, they can shine brighter for their families and all that they touch. Wow, that's wonderful, Dr. Mary Leung. It's so important that physicians have that balance, right? And have that time for themselves to renew and I love that you said in your bio that to rediscover joy in their lives. So
Yeah.
thank you for coming to the Embracing Joy podcast. And that's what we like to talk about. So we start out with a quick game.
Okay.
This game is to get our brains kind of on the same page. It's called Mind Meld or Convergence. It's a quick warm-up game. So we'll start with a word. So we'll count to 3. So 1, 2, 3, and then say the first word on your mind. It can be anything. And then we'll continue going until we get the same word. So the idea is to find a word that connects the 2 words that we decide. Okay? Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Chicken.
Pink chicken.
Wait, what
Okay.
did you say? I didn't hear you.
Pink. I said pink.
Pink? Oh, okay.
Pink chicken. So something that makes pink and chicken together. Okay. All right. Pink and chicken. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3. Chicken nugget.
Pig.
Pig. Chicken nugget and pig. All right. All right. Okay. So pig and chicken nugget. Let's see what can bring those together. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Fast
Food?
food? Food. Okay,
Oh,
food. I think that counts. So we're on the same page.
I think so.
Similar. That counts. That was great. So the whole point of that game is to warm up, to get our minds like just in a playful mood where we're not thinking of overthinking or overanalyzing, but just saying the first thing that comes to our mind. So great job. So I have some questions about your journey, Dr. Leung. So you went from being stressed and overwhelmed to embracing joy and gratitude in your professional life. And the way that you were able to do that is very inspiring. Can you tell us what was that pivotal moment that made you decide to stop going the path that you were going and to embrace, life coaching and joy in this way?
Yeah, I think for quite a few years, I actually looking back, I didn't really realize that I was very drained. I was running on empty all the time. And I was just going through the motions of, working hard, seeing the patients, doing my charts, of course, very late at night and sometimes in the weekends too. And I was barely living my life. And I wanted to really spend more time with my family, and I felt like I couldn't. I was just so tired physically and emotionally. And this went on for, yeah, really quite a few years. And then the pandemic came. And when the pandemic was here, I was initially just seeing a third of the number of patients that I used to be seeing.
Mhm.
So I was actually going home on time or sometimes earlier than on time with all my work done.
Mhm.
And that felt wonderful because I actually had time to spend with my children, with my husband. And I actually had time to think about what I could do with them. And so I thought, what if I could do the same thing when the pandemic was over, or when, when I was seeing the full load of patients again? So around that time, then I discovered life coaching. I didn't know what it was before, and I was introduced to, physician coaches. And I thought that, well, that's interesting, outside of sports, the coaches.
Mhm.
And I was just so desperate at that time that I wanted anything to help me feel better, at least just to feel better, to feel like I was actually living a life.
Mhm.
So then I just took the big leap, and I joined women physician coaching program. And there I learned about how, we think about things and how that affects how we feel. And we human beings are really acting upon our emotions, and of
Mhm.
course how we act affect our results. So I was like, wow, that really makes sense. And
Mhm.
at that same time, I was working with my coach to really, figure out that what I really wanted to do, of course, is to take great care of the patients, but also to spend time with my family. So the biggest thing between me and my family were the charts,
Mhm.
was going home on time. So we're working on, just things of how I think of things and how I manage my mind and how I do things to be able to focus and concentrate to go home on time. And so I would just say that about 3 months, I was able to really go home on time. So in the past, I was, and at that time I was already seeing the same number of patients, like about average 25 patients a day.
Mhm.
And so I used to be just going home after 7 and still had work to do. And, and at that time I was able to go home by 5:30. And now I'm actually going home before 5 o'clock, with
Wow, and
seeing 20 some
that's
patients.
really wow, that's really phenomenal because, we have to also take in consideration that these are not the healthiest of patients because of your specialty, and they require, just more of a focused history in terms of the cancer history,
Yeah.
hematological history, the blood history. So that you're able to see 25 patients, do a good job with them, and complete your work and go home. Whereas before, it was taking you an additional 2.5 hours because of that change in behavior and mindset with the coaching. And you've also been able to help other physicians with that as well, right? With your business. So with your coaching. So that's just wonderful how you've been able to not only model that what you went through, but help so many other physicians get their lives back as well.
Yeah. And I think that's actually, um, which I'm so thankful for you having this embracing joy, because I think that is what really helped me, is to embrace the joy. And, so I realized that in the past, you know, when I woke up in the morning, I would dread. I would
Mhm.
say, oh, it's another day of long work, long day of work, and it would be terrible. I have to see some very complicated patients, and I wouldn't have time to really take good care of them, so on and so forth. And I already started the day with complaining, with the
Mhm.
dread, with the frustration, even before I actually, saw my first patient. But then I learned that, I can just see, you know what can bring me joy, and what I'm grateful for, because I
Mhm.
think the gratitude part is
Mhm.
really what brings me joy. And
Mhm.
the more that I focus on what I'm grateful for, the more that I can feel content easily, and the more that I can find joy easily. And with
Mhm.
that as my energy source, as my fuel for the day, it's just so much easier to go. And it's so much easier to focus and to concentrate and just to do things efficiently.
I love that you said that and tied in the gratitude as well. So tell me more about gratitude. Like, how did you start incorporating that into your life? Like, because it can be daunting when you're so into complaining. Well, it's not that you're into complaining. Can see a lot of the negative because you are working very long hours. You're not sleeping enough. You may be overwhelmed with the patient cases that you have, and it's hard to think of the good things that happen that day. And even just writing, like, oh, I want to start writing those three things that good that happened today, can be hard in particular times, especially if you've gone years
Yeah.
with the previous. We've gone years, being upset about what you have to do and all the work you have to do, and not having time for your family and not having time for the patients, and then coming home feeling like, oh, I don't have time to spend with my husband, my kid, whatever that may be. How did you start really incorporating the gratitude to a place where it could lift some of those burdens for you?
Yeah, I think it first started with my coach in the very beginning asked me what went well.
Mhm.
And I was like, I didn't know what to say. I was like,
Mhm.
what do you mean what went well? It's like, I can tell you a list of things that did not go well,
Mhm.
so that kind of, and she just kept asking me week after week. And so before I knew it, and then I was like, oh, I have to meet with my coach. I better think of three things that that went well, and that that I'm grateful for. So then it gradually became a habit, and
Mhm.
that I didn't really have to think about it, and it just came easier and easier to find things that went well and that I'm grateful for. and
Mhm.
and I think the fact that um just as the days go on, and I'm able to just really focus more on things that go well, that
Mhm.
makes me find it easier to be grateful for things. At the same time, is it doesn't I also learned that you know you don't you can't just be grateful when
Mhm.
only when things are going well. And
Mhm.
I think that whatever thing that is going on, there's always something good and always something bad. And I think to train your mind to really focus on the more pleasant and the positive things, that's a really great practice. Because and I learned this from actually my oncology patients, because I can see two different people with the same diagnosis, and their attitude can be very different. One can be just complaining about every single thing. They can complain about how um the side effects are from the chemotherapy, and another patient can be always smiling and just thankful for the team of doctors and nurses that they have. And even though they have side effects, they'll be like, oh, at least this is something that I can handle. And I think this is really, yeah, a big source that I learned from. It's that, no matter how bad the situation is, you can always focus on something that you're grateful for. And for example, like, I used to feel stuck, at my work. I enjoy seeing patients, but I felt like I couldn't really, you know, be fully engaged with my patients because I was just so, tired and overwhelmed and burned out.
Mhm.
And I wasn't really able to focus on any of that, and I felt stuck, and I felt like I couldn't really do the best, that I could. And then I just, really take a step back and say, you know what, I actually choose to stay, to be in this job that I'm working at, to
Mhm.
help people, and
Mhm.
to make a living, have a steady
Mhm.
income. So
Mhm.
I'm thankful for that. Doesn't mean that I enjoy every single thing about my
Mhm.
job, but I get to choose to focus on things that, I'm grateful for.
Right. Oh, that's wonderful. I love that you said that, and especially the fact of oncology patients, right? Because we do get to see, not even in an oncology, but all physicians, we get to see we can learn from our patients, is what I'm saying. What I mean to say, we can learn a lot from our patients. We learn a lot from each other. We learn a lot from, if you decide to get a coach, mentor, and just seeing that perspective of people when they go through suffering,
Hmm.
especially especially in end of life. Some people, may be peaceful and grateful and thankful that you helped them to the best that you could. Other people may complain, but you can see how mentally that may be, of course, we appreciate, feedback, complaints if, they're necessary sometimes, but as a person, when it becomes a habit, it is damaging to your mental health and overall well-being, and it's damaging to your relationships between other people, because relationships are so important for us and our families, right? So to have, so that's, I love that you spoke on that, like that you were able to learn from your patients and practice that change in mindset with gratitude. That's wonderful. So I have a couple more questions for you. These are our final questions, kind of our wrap up questions about joy. So you were able to find joy through gratitude. And I think gratitude is a key recipe for joy. So tell me, who's a model for joy in your life?
Yeah, so I would say it's my mom.
Mhm.
So she's retired now, but she worked as a family practice physician, and I just remember her. Even after a long day of work, she would come home smiling. I think she was really happy to see her kids, and at the dining table, she would be kind of very excited about talking about what she did. Earlier in the day, and she would actually also ask my father about, oh, what would you do in this situation. Like, you can tell that she's really, really passionate about
Mhm.
helping her patients, and she would go out of the way to do it sometimes. And I think that whenever she faced difficulties, like, I know that she's facing something that is not easy to handle, and she was just take it kind of in a lighthearted way, like serious but lighthearted way. And that's what I tell my patients, that I think that's the attitude that I think it's the best to deal with, especially cancer situation.
Mhm.
And she, I think my mom is just really a great example for me.
Mhm.
And I think that without her, I'm not the same person that I am.
Mhm.
And with her, just I guess I never said this to her, but it's
Mhm.
just really wonderful to have her as my role model, to be just to be herself, to be
Mhm.
who she is. and to be able to see how she interact with people, how she has that special connection with her family and with her friends, and of course her patients in the past too.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Yeah, I love that you said that about your mom, and you'll have to show her the episode once we once we finish, or let her know. So tell me, if you were building a cake of joy, what would be
Mhm.
your top ingredients and why?
Of course, gratitude, right?
Mhm,
And that would be my top one because I just think that yeah, the more grateful you are, the more joy that you produce. So that's definitely it's a top ingredient.
mhm,
And the next one would be love. You know, I think that when you love yourself, you know, you learn to love other people and other things and to appreciate other things. So I think love, without love, it's like I feel like, you know, you can't really do anything that you're fully engaged in, you know. And
mhm.
without love, you can't really be passionate about something. I think without love for something, you're not really living like a human being. That's how I feel. So
It's
so so I think love is
a great commandment in so many religions, and it's important. It's very important. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah. So, and the third one, I think it's just having the lighthearted attitude, you know.
mhm,
Um, and I think that sometimes it's just helpful to take things not so seriously, you know, and especially things that you cannot control, you know.
mhm,
And things that you cannot control, just be like, oh, okay, you know, let me think about, like, just be, you know, when you're lighthearted, it's easier for you to be curious about something. So
mhm,
you know, if you're like, okay, this is not what I can control, or you know, I of course I always use cancer as the example just because this is what I see every day. So,
mhm,
okay, you know, no one wants to have cancer, and now I have it. All right, you know, not that I like it, but what can I do about it? You know, if you're lighthearted about the situation, then you can focus on something else, you know, something you can control. Like, okay, you know, I'm going to do my best, listen to my doctor, and, you know, go through my treatment and just take it day by day, for example. So
mhm.
I think that gratitude, love, and lightheartedness. So those
I
are my
love
three top ingredients.
I love that. And then, I love that. Thank you so much. But it's also like with cancer, like so many things can steal your joy, right? Like a cancer diagnosis can steal your joy. Working too hard can steal your joy. Lots of things, or complaining to a large extent can steal your joy. But taking that time to have gratitude, like Dr. Leung said, to appreciate the good things in life, and to know that it's never, you're as long as you're breathing, there's something to be thankful for. There's something
Yeah.
to be grateful for. So thank you so much, Dr. Leung. How can our audience and our listeners find you?
Yeah. So you're welcome to visit my website at shiningwithgratitudemd.com. And I do post a blog post twice a week there. And I am also on Facebook, Mary Leung, and on LinkedIn, Mary Leung MD.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Leung. It's been a pleasure. And that was our episode. So we're going to wrap up our live stream. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you so much.